this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at an affordable phone that's available on AT&T United States. This is the HTC Desire 610. You know, I've always thought that the Desire series was kind of, well, misnamed. Really, it's the HTC One M8 that's the desirable series. The Desire series is the more affordable, mid-rangey to even less than mid-range in this case kind of smartphone. It does have boom sound stereo speakers. It does have 4G LTE, so it has some things going for it. And another plus is, well, it's free on contract. We're going to look at it now. So this is the HTC Desire 610. It's available in the United States on AT&T. It is free with contract, or 99 cents, close enough to call it free, and $199, no contract. Now that no contract price is going to be the most compelling thing here because, well, most everything else costs more than that without a contract, doesn't it, on AT&T. Now those of you who go shopping and you buy some off-contract phones, unlocked phones, you know, you can find some pretty decent things now for $199 above. And then there's the Moto G at $179 for the 3G version, $229 for a 4G LTE. Quite the nice phone for the money. But for those of you who just want to buy direct from AT&T, this will be one of the least expensive smartphones you can buy without contract pricing. There's at full retail, and even if you're doing the AT&T Next thing and you're doing the monthly payments, and that's going to be like $8.37 a month versus $27 for some of the flagships. So you get the idea there. That's why this phone exists. It certainly doesn't exist because it's a stunning design or a wonderful piece of technology. It's okay. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of smartphone circa 4 years back, or something you might find in one of the street kiosks at a Hong Kong fair or something like that these days. It's just not that exciting to look at. The front, basic black, kind of rubbery looking, and in fact, it's a fairly soft touch finish. The nice thing is that the grills here are for speakers, so it does have HTC boom sound stereo speakers, which gives it certainly better than bargain basement audio quality. However, they're flanking a very mediocre screen here that is just not terribly bright. Now, this is as bright as it actually gets, and we've turned off auto brightness. Not too bright. Also quite grainy looking. It's the quality of the panel that's being used here. It's not just the resolution, which is also kind of mediocre. And okay, you know, we're used to 720p for budget phones. This one's even lower actually at 854 by 480 pixels. So that's a 480p screen you're looking at. So yes, it's low resolution, but it's also, like I said, kind of grainy looking. So least compelling thing about it. The rest of it's actually not so bad, but since, well, the display is our window into the smartphone world, it does make a difference. Front-facing 1.3 megapixel camera up front here. Shall we say robust build? That is to say, it's kind of, well, it's thick. It's also pretty sturdy. You get the feeling you could drop this a bunch of times, wouldn't hurt it a bit. There's our micro USB port at the bottom. Now the back gets a little exciting. It gets a shiny back that picks up fingerprint grime like crazy. The overseas model of this was a really neat electric blue that jazzed up the phone and kind of really improved the look, I think. AT&T is just offering what they call dark gray. I think most people would call this black. The sides are the matte finish, so it does stay grippy, and a good thing there. 8 megapixel traditional camera, not an ultra pixel camera. I don't consider that to be a bad thing, because the ultra pixel camera at 4 megapixel actual pixel resolution, you know, image resolution, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag there in terms of quality. So this camera is not too bad, and we have our little flash there right above it. Rubber door here, kind of no frills approach to things. We have a micro SD card slot so you can expand storage, and there is our nano SIM card slot right there. And up top we have the power button, typical place for HTC, our headphone jack also right there, and our volume controls right here. Also fairly basic visual treatment for those, but to get the job done. They're actually reasonably easy to operate. They don't stand out a whole lot, but they're tactile enough. And I haven't pressed them by accident. They're not too soft touch, so that's nice too. Phone weighs 5.06 ounces, so it's not super duper heavy. It's not real small given the display size, which is 4.7 inches. And we're going to compare it to the Moto G so you can get an idea of its 4.5 inch display. So here's the Moto G, which has a much sharper, much nicer looking 720p display at 4.5 inches. You can see the size difference. As always, HTC's boom sound stereo speakers, well, they increase the height of the device quite a lot. And the Moto G is also a more styling phone too, and you can get different back colors for it. So kind of nice looking piece, kind of dull looking piece. So that hurts. Of course, Moto G you won't find it at your AT&T store. You can go to Motorola's website and buy it. Again, that's $179 for 3G or $229 with 4G LTE, just so you know your options. Inside, we have the usual mid-range kind of specs going on. 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 CPU. That's a quad-core CPU. Obviously, it's not a Snapdragon 800, 801, or 805. This is not a flagship phone, but the Snapdragon 400 is enough speed for most people. It can even handle some 3D gaming. That's coupled with Adreno 305 graphics. We have a gig of RAM inside and 8 gigs of storage, and then you have that micro SD card slot so you can expand storage further. On synthetic benchmarks, it does about what the Snapdragon 400 usually does. A quadrant, 9,698. It's about half the speed of a Snapdragon 800 or 801. Antutu, 18,786. 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited Test, 4,854. SunSpider, the WebKit web browser we use for this, is usually a little bit faster. It scored 1192, where lower numbers are better. And that's actually not so bad. We've seen some other budget phones score as high as 1900, and the flagships can manage around 500 or so. So not too bad. In everyday use, it feels fine. It does not feel like a slug by any means. It's very usable. And as HTC senses customization with the little tips we saw right there of Android, so we have the up-down app drawer right here. Blink Feed is on board for those of you who like that. We've seen on the HTC One M8. For example, so you've got your slide over to get the news here, and it's a pretty nice customizable news feed on your home screen. And beyond that, it's pretty much standard Android. HTC customizes a few things, a settings screen. It's nothing that we haven't seen before in other HTC phones. So if you enjoy HTC Sense, you're going to enjoy it here. You get all the same goodness and settings. So that's the good news for this phone. This does have 4G LTE on AT&T's network, so data speeds are par for the course on AT&T's networks, just as fast as the flagship phones there. We have good AT&T service here in the Dallas area, so we've been managing around 20 megabit per second down and 7 to 12 up on this phone. Again, that's par for the course. Spending more does not get you faster LTE right now until they start using XLTE for XLTE-enabled high-end phones. Voice quality, just okay. I was a little bit surprised by that because HTC generally has very good voice quality, even on their lower-end phones. This one sounded a bit digitized for both incoming and outgoing voice. I could still understand what the caller was saying. They could still understand me. We just sound a little bit like, more like answering machine voice is the way that I would put it. But it is perfectly usable. For those of you who like HTC Zoe, that feature where it takes a compendium of photos you've shot, throw in some visual effects and music, it is here on board. And you can see that their nice organization hides most of AT&T's bloatware, which is tucked away in that folder. And we have a media folder right here, and we have all things Google. So let's check out YouTube so you can hear what the speakers sound like and see what the screen looks like playing some video. So we're on our YouTube channel, Mobile Tech Review. We'll look at the LG G Vista, which is the budget tablet that you can get on AT&T's network. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're looking at the LG G Vista. Did they have to put the G in there? Really, it's a little hard to say that way. Anyway, this is an Android smartphone called a phablet, 5.7-inch display. It's available on Verizon Wireless now. It's also going to be coming to AT&T, and it's a kind of the affordable phablet family. It really has mid-range spec. So, pretty good sound there. Okay video streaming quality. No problems there with our data service, and we're doing that over AT&T's 4G network. We are not using Wi-Fi at the moment. This does have Wi-Fi 802.11 on board, Bluetooth 4.0 as well, and of course a GPS. And here it is playing music, which we can do for only a little bit before the DRM police attack. Not quite as full and rich sounding as the HTC One M8 speakers. It's a little bit more brash, but again, it's better than the average smartphone. It certainly is much better when it comes to volume. Battery capacity is 2,040 milliamps. It's a unibody plastic design. HTC doesn't just do unibody with metal, so that is sealed inside. Given that the Snapdragon 400 is a pretty efficient quad-core CPU, and the display resolution and size obviously are not very big by today's standards, battery life has been pretty good on this. It easily made it through a day and a half of use before I had to plug it in, and that's with moderate to heavy use. I think most people will find that they can certainly get through a business day unless they're hitting the GPS heavily or playing way too much Asphalt 8 racing game or something like that. Not bad for battery life at all. So there it is. As one of the most budget smartphones you can get on AT&T, well, it gets the job done. It certainly has adequate audio. Voice quality for calls is okay, not super great. Data speeds are great. Performance overall here and synthetic benchmarks and in everyday use, perfectly fine as well. Does everything you expect an Android phone to do, just nothing terribly remarkable or stylish about it. So that's the HTC Desire 610. It's available now on AT&T. Again, free on contract, $199 full retail. That full retail price is probably the most compelling thing about it, because if you look at all the free on contract phones, there are a lot of phones that are nicer than this one, aren't there? And, you know, this has really been the year of the mid-range Android phone. There's been a lot of great phones, the Moto G, the Moto E. A lot of them give you a lot of value for the money. So the competition here for the poor Desire 610 is tough. And it doesn't really have the top specs and the nice looks that something like, say, the Moto G has. But hey, if you're going to buy it direct from AT&T and you got to pay full retail price, or the AT&T Next Plan kind of price where you're going to make monthly payments, it is kind of compelling on a tight budget. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review, and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.